This video will take you through the steps to prepare your figure files for submission to Corrosion using Adobe Photoshop. Any figure originating as a photo, imagery from scientific software to display something visually, not numerically, must be prepared in the following manner. Single column width should be 3.3 inches at 300 dpi. Double column width is 6.6 inches. Text should be Helvetica at 8 point. For rules, lines, or strokes, we need a minimum of half a point line weight to 1 point. CMYK or grayscale. Background color should be white, and please save your file as an unflattened TIFF with all the layers included. Using Adobe Photoshop, we're going to demonstrate how to prepare figures for submission to Corrosion Journal. For this example, I have 3 images I want to compile into one figure. I will bring those images into one document and label and notate as needed. To start, I will open those images in Photoshop by going to the File menu and selecting Open. I'll navigate to where those images are, select the 3 that I want to use, and click Open. As you can see, we have 3 separate images. Now that I have the 3 images I want to use for my figure, I'll make a new document by going to the File menu once again and selecting New. In this dialog box, I can name the file, change the dimensions, and set the resolution. So the resolution is a very important specification that we want to set. We want to make sure it is at 300 pixels per inch. We also want to make sure that the width is 3.3 inches. And for this example, I have 3 separate images, so I'm going to set the height at 7¼ inches. Then I'm going to name the new file. I think I'll name it Figure 1 Fracture Surface. I'll set the background contents to white, and I don't need to set the others. I'll click OK, and I'll have my new blank canvas to start working on. So what I want to do is I want to take one of these images and place them in my new document. So to do that, I'll make sure the Move tool is selected. Click and hold one of the images and drag it over. When I release, the image is now placed, and then I can place it exactly where I want. I'll do that with the second image. Click and hold and drag onto the new document and release. Then I can arrange these how I want once it's on the new document. And I'll do the same with the third. Move it out the way so that I can see what I'm doing, and bring it over to the new document and adjust. So now that I have all the 3 images placed, I can go ahead and close out my source images. Now I'll want to label these A, B, and C. So to do that, I'll head over to the toolbar and take the Type tool and click in the area where I want to place the type. Now we want to ensure that we're using Helvetica regular at 8 points. I can also set the color here, and it's already set to black, which is what I want. So then I'll go ahead and label these A, B, and C. So now I want to set some labels, and I want to point certain things out in this image. So in order to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in. I'm going to pick the zoom tool and zoom into this area right here. Let me make the window bigger. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. So there may be some instances when you want to label certain areas and bring attention to parts of an image. We can do that easily by using the line tool and arrowheads along with the type tool. To do that, we need to choose the line tool under the shapes tool in the toolbox. Once the line tool is selected, in this options bar, we can pick parameters for the line tool, such as fill color, which I'll set to black, and stroke color, which I'll also set to black. I want to make sure the weight is 1 point, which is already set, and under the gear icon, I can choose arrowheads. So I'm going to have an arrowhead start at the beginning of the stroke, and I'm going to set the width to 400 and the length to 400. So all I need to do is click and drag from the area that I want to point out, and there I have my arrow. I can then go to the type tool, double check that I have Helvetica regular at 8 point, make sure the color is black, then I can type out a label. So that's looking pretty good, but I think the black type over the dark background might be a little difficult to read. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to go back to the Shapes tool, pick the Rectangle tool, and set the parameters where I have a fill of white, and for the stroke I'll pick no color. Then I can drag out a rectangle, and you can see the rectangle covered the text, and that's because each element is on a separate layer. And that's best illustrated by the layers palette, which we see here. As you can see, the rectangle I just drew is above the type. So all I need to do is I can click and drag that below the type. And now we can see the words. I can do the same thing with the arrow I just drew. Here it is, it's indicated by shape 1. I can just click and drag it above the rectangle as well. So I'm going to label another part of this image using the same arrow tool or line tool and pointing out different areas. So I want to point out this area here and this area here. I want to attach it to the same label. Then I'm going to set a box behind it as well. And then pull the box behind the type. So I have two labels and that looks pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up labeling all these images, and then I will show you how to prepare the file for submission. As you can see here, I finished labeling my figure. The next step is we want to make sure the color is either CMYK or grayscale. To do that, we go to the image menu, under mode, and choose grayscale, since there is no color in this figure. Adobe Photoshop will warn me that changing modes can affect the appearance of layers, and it's going to ask me if I want to merge layers before the change. I want to be sure to click Don't Merge because I need all those layers. Then it will confirm that I want to discard any color information, and since it's grayscale, I'll pick Discard. Now it's time to save all our hard work. To do that, I'll go to the File menu and choose Save. I saved this file earlier, just in case of an emergency, so for the purpose of this demonstration, I'll pick Save As. In the dialog box, we want to make sure that the format is TIFF and that the box next to Layers is checked. We want to preserve those layers, so we need to make sure that the Layers checkbox is checked. I'll click Save, and then we'll be presented with options for saving a TIFF file. I want image compression at none, and I'll leave the rest as default, and click OK. Photoshop will inform me that including layers will increase the file size. That's fine. I'll click OK, and our file is saved and ready to submit to Corrosion. Preparing your figures for Corrosion using these simple steps will shorten your time through the peer review and production process. More author information on preparing all elements of your manuscript can be found in our Author Resource Center at corrosionjournal.org. If your answer is not available there, contact the editorial office for further information.